Hello.
Hi,
It's nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
How would you introduce yourself to someone who doesn't know you?
Okay, I see. So, my name is Jeremy. I'm from France and I'm a university teacher in computer science. So, that would be it for the professional description. Apart from that, I like chess, I like volleyball, and I would describe myself as a pessimistic, idealistic. Which makes sense because it's the idea that even if something may fail because of how the world is made, it's still a good idea to try to do them and go them. So that's an interesting combination. Not always easy to live with, but I get used to that. So yeah, that would be a very basic description of me. I believe that there is a moral obligation to aim for good, to invest and to develop project and skill for the greater good. But I believe that the human has a tendency to corrupt a lot. So in some sense, I'm at peace doing stuff that I know will fail, but I still know it's the good thing to do. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So my next question is, what gives meaning to what you do?
So as I said, I'm a university teacher. That means there's a bit of component for teaching and there's a bit of component for research and also for administrative. I'm not that much of a research. What actually I have done is that I've got some formal training in math, physics, and computing, and I kind of try to avoid being in front of a computer 10 hours a day. I prefer human interaction. So as a very pragmatic answer, I would say the meaning is students, because you get to deal with people that have brain, that have history, and you get to have a bit of influence in what you bring them as formal knowledge and what you bring them as a person, because in the end, our brain, it remembers people, it remembers stories, not only the math and the formula. So the real meaning is the people I meet, the students, and also the colleagues. So that's why I've decided to do that job.
What would the world lose if your object just stopped appearing?
What would the world lose if computer science is not taught anymore? So there's a lot of subcomponent in computer science. Mostly myself, I'm in applied math and we would say high performance computing, how to use computer to solve like hard problems. And I would say the world would lose all of the modern technology, because all of the modern technology, they require precise computation. So you have a problem, the problem is too hard to do, so you make a model of it, a bit of a simplification, that requires some math, and then you use a computer to solve the problem, and that requires a lot of small calculations. So everything we have, this building, it's holding because it has been simulated. Your phone, everything, the wireless microphone, everything is related on math. So that's the basic of that. But to me, there's another much deeper level to that, is that if we stop teaching, I would say, basic math and scientific literacy to people, then I would say we lose common sense. And I have a clear example, which is like statistics. Maybe I have a bit of an extremist view on that, but I believe people should be forbidden to use and talk about statistics if they have not received the formal training on it. Because on social media, in politics, you see a lot of people using data and statistics in very either misleading or bad way. And you can manipulate a lot easy with people who don't know how to use statistics. And that's just one example. It gives a real way to interpret and to see the world. So I believe a lot of common sense is related to a bit of math Same, you would not take a loan at 5% or 10% if you do the math and you have a variable rate, all of that. So that's something that the world is losing. And I'm from France. The level in math, it has decreased a lot. And we kind of already see the consequence of people like that. That's a bit of a sad story, but that's something.
We're speaking of teaching. Why did you just decide to be a teacher? If you like chess, volleyball.
Well, if you want to play chess at like professional level to win your life, to gain enough money, you need to be in the top 100, which is out of perspective for me, or you need to teach chess. So in the end, you're still back on teaching. It's related to my story. I finished high school at 17, and I got to the...
Is it a bit early?
Yeah, I was 1 year ahead. Then I moved to Paris, left my family, and I went to very specific French institutions that are like elite teaching. I had like 12 hours of math, 12 hours of physics a week. Every Saturday I had 4-hour exam, and you just like this, and you do science until you break, and you don't have the time to think about life. So I did that for 2 years, and after that you do a lot of competitive exam and you hope for the best school and university. But I already had done those 2 years, and after that, like, okay, now I'm good at science, but I need to choose something of my career that is related to that, because it's kind of already too late. I mean, it's never too late, but to change. So I was like, okay, I did a lot of science. Now I understand that I like computer and technology, but I prefer humans. So what to make the best of the two worlds? And teaching is what to comes, because you can use your technical knowledge, and you can also use your, I would say, love for humans and development and that. So it a bit converged to that. And even when I was university student, I had like great experience doing like one-to-one teaching to high school kids, and I was like, okay, no, that's really where I want to go. So that was mostly it.
Mm-hmm. What is one lesson? It might be academic or personal, like that you hope everyone will get.
Yeah, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but there's a saying that I like that says that if you are nobody without a medal, without I don't know, a trophy or that, then you are nobody with a medal. And we could translate that in academic way, like if you are nobody without a diploma, then you are nobody with a diploma. The piece of paper you will get at the end of study does not change actually who you are. And it's not the idea that you have to be somebody to shine in the world. I mean, the world don't really care about you nor on me. It's mostly about the way you decide to grow and to move, and the fact that you should not chase the reward, but you should chase the process of growing. And one day you will get the reward, you will get the diploma, you will get the medal, you will have some success, but believing that the reward is the real reward, that's, I believe, a bit of a delusion. The real reward is actually the process. What do you do of your year now that you are a student? That would, I think, be the lesson. So yeah, if you're nobody without the reward, then you will be nobody when the reward is there. And sometimes the reward never comes, but that's okay.
Yeah, way is more important than the reward.
Important as valuable for real life, because when we study like computer science, if you take like 40 years ago, the people that were graduating like computer science, they could use their knowledge for 30 years. Today, when you graduate, the use of your knowledge is expected to be 2 years. So you don't want to have a class you just pass. You want to be able to learn new stuff so that you can progress and adapt along with your career. And that's not the diploma that gives you that. That's the idea of study.
So computer science is developing all the time.
Yeah, the technology are getting too fast. One day you are taught to program using that language or that techniques, and 2 years after, the industry has a bit shift and you need to adapt. And now with AI, it makes everything much faster. I would say too fast. That's probably my pessimistic side that is talking. But yeah, that's my view on that question.
I heard recently someone very smart told me that now we have to understand how to use AI in our lives. If you want to still be someone, we have to understand how to use it.
Yeah,
It's not how to replace us,
no, it's how to collaborate with
how to
AI.
collaborate. Because if you can use it, but not collaborate with it, like you mean nothing to the company, to anyone.
Yeah.
Because they can do it by themselves without you. Why should they pay for you to do something that AI can do without you?
And that gives an interesting room for computer science because I would say the soft skills, how to communicate, how to manage a project and that, they are actually getting more and more valuable because the technical side is getting that. And I think that's really critical. I have a friend that is leading and supervising a master degree in AI, and he said to his students, if you don't bring anything better than UI, you will be replaced by AI. But that's a challenge to say, okay, there is the technical side where you need to collaborate and use AI to speed up the productivity. And there is the human side where you need to know how to communicate, how to deal with clients and all of that. And that's very critical. But that's a bit of a challenge because sometimes people who go to computer science is that they don't like or they don't have the social skills. But that's no. You're human, you cannot escape the social skills sooner or later. But that gives opportunity, and at the same time, that could be a bit frightening or discouraging for students, I believe. Because it is also for teachers.
I can see that many people now, they have a lot of doubts about studying computer science because they're afraid of being fully replaced.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Is it real? Is it... Can it be real someday in the future?
That's a very interesting question. I'm pretty sure if you interview 10 people, you would get 10 different answers. Yeah. The truth is that no one exactly knows. When you read the literacy of like what the top people are saying, they don't have a converging opinion. So the only conclusion that I can safely assume is that there's huge churn that should be expected and that require adaptation. But even if something is possible, that's not sure that's something we really want. And you have a lot of ethical questions like who is really assuming and taking the responsibility of a code, of a driving system. In the end, you need a human to have that responsibility just to be able to sue it if it fails. So I would not say full replacement should be that. And I was reading something that was forecasting the important skills for like the 20 next year, and you still had a lot in like critical thinking, analytical thinking, and like programming was getting a bit less important because you can offload that to AI. But those critical thinking and system thinking and engineering, those were very valuable skills. So I still believe it's good to study computer science because it's a complex topic, and what you want as a student is to have something complex you have to deal with, because then that trains you for life. And then you adapt. But that requires being very active.
So what was a turning point in your life?
Yeah, it's not an easy question because my life, and I would say most of people's life, they are just like zigzags. So you get a lot of turning points. One turning point. It's really not easy to maybe I will not be able to choose one. Maybe I will have to say two.
Yes.
Okay, but I will start chronologically. When I was in my early 20, I think I was 20 or 21, I got to see like very different stuff from what I was used to see. I have to keep that a bit abstract, but that really changed the way I was. So it was a turning point in the direction I wanted to go after that experience. And then it's a turning point in the vision, but then you need time to adapt. You need time to accept and to face choice. And also you need sometimes the people that care enough and that have the skills to help. So there's difference to me between like the turning point in what I wanted to do and to be and the time it took to go there, which I would say took like, 5 to 10 years. So, but that's been like really, game changer and like, oh, now I'm a different person. Now I see the world differently. Now I believe this is more important than I believe it was. That has been really critical. And that was in my early 20s, so your brain is not completely finished and you're still a bit lost in life. But I'm very happy I got that young enough to be, because it's less easy to change when you are up after you're 30. So that was one. And I'll go for a second one because it's kind of hard to avoid that. It was when I was doing my PhD. It's been like very, very hard. I did it because that's useful to have that as a teacher. And I was like completely failing. I was doing research and that was not working and that. And I was kind of at the lowest point of my life. Also because a lot of things were piling up, academically speaking, but also a personal side. And I was really at the bottom of my life. And I was like, okay, now what do? I don't have that much time to finish my PhD, but I don't have that much that is working. And that time, I don't know, there was a new strength in me that decided to do one more last try to publish a paper. And if that fails, I'm out. I don't want to hear about research anymore in my life. And I got the people to help me and to understand me at that point. And I really gave one last chance and it worked. And the reason why I did that, it was just, I was expecting to fail, but I just really want to make sure I had zero regret in failing. And it actually succeeded, and that changed me, kind of. And I would not have the life I have. And everything that was going bad were suddenly starting to going good. My PhD advisor that was also working in the company, he just came to me say, oh, we had people applying for a very great job, but his visa got canceled. Do you want to take his job? I was like, yeah, you cannot refuse that. And then I went from like being alone, depressed in my room to just like having like complete success. But I had to go through the lowest point. And I think that teach me also to fight to the very, very end of what you can. And but that has been also a turning point.
So speaking of hard times,
Yeah.
what mistake taught you the most?
There's a quote that I like that says that mistake is the name that people give. No, experience is the name that people give to their mistakes. So it's, when you say I'm experienced, it just means I made a lot of mistakes. There's nothing more to look for that. Again, it's very hard to come to only one, so I'll again go with two. One was again when I was young. Sometimes in your life there's things that you know you have to do, like your soul, your body, your conscience is telling you to do that. And I was a bit afraid of doing that, so I went in the opposite direction to what I knew was good and I should have done, but I was a bit lazy at that time. And that ended up being not great. And in the end, I end up in that same route that I wanted to avoid. And I just lost a bit of money. I lost a scholarship, but I ended at the same place. And that to me has been a very great lesson and mistake, that when you think you should go in a direction, even if you are afraid, even if it looks complicated, uncertain, you should not go the opposite direction. So now when I have that kind of situation, I go in that direction. Maybe I'm very slow, but at least I'm not going. And that has been a mistake that I'm happy I made it young, and I'm happy it had not real consequences apart losing a bit of money, but you can survive that. But yeah, my life was very close to be very different from what it is today. And by different, I mean worse. And I got very lucky that the bad direction I decided to take in the end got rerouted in the correct choice I should have made at the start. So that was once, you would say, that's related to myself and the ways I was seeing the world, decision on that. And the other one is related to actually a relationship and people. And my mistake, I would say, was, how to say that? To do too many extra steps in the wheel of getting people. I believe it's good to be intentional and to do the extra step, to look for people. But when you do, I would say, 2 or 3 extra steps, then that becomes a bad idea, because you spend a lot of energy trying to get people. And the more you invest, the more you have high expectation, but reality don't care about your expectation. It's just there. And yeah, I made that mistake. Maybe a bit too optimistic, maybe about too ambitious in some people I'd like to build something with. And that was a bad idea. So today I'm like, I'm very okay to do the first step, but I'm not doing more. If people want, they will find a way, and you don't need to push too much. You need to push a bit, you need to leave the room open, but you cannot really do that. And that's the same as a teacher. You really quickly learn that you are not the savior of your student. You can bring them, but you cannot do more than that. And that's been a painful mistake, but a useful one, because today I'm very careful with who I am associating with, who I am building with, and I'm not wasting time on doing too many extra steps, because it never works. You just get disappointed and frustrated in the end. So that, yeah, protect yourself, and then you can do great stuff.
So speaking of all this experience you have, let's imagine that you just simply didn't have any of these turning points in your life which told you to be a teacher, that this is your desire. Who would you be, in your opinion, if it's not a teacher?
Yeah, I get the question. So, well, first of all, who I am is more than just my profession. I'm a teacher, but I'm more than that. And the way if I could be something else, a teacher, I would go to psychology, because I like, and I think I have good skills at problem solving, and I also like the human side. And well, basically, psychology, it combines the analytical mind and also all of the human that you get. So yeah, and I'm not excluding one day leaving teaching and maybe start a master in psychology or something like that. I really went very close to that actually a few years ago. It's like, no, for now teaching is still good and useful, but life is long, and I'm not afraid one day to change.
So you're planning to study more?
I'm planning to do what it takes to reach something when I think something is necessary and good. And if it implies studying, then yeah. But right now, it's not completely on the table. I'm happy and I find a lot of meaning as a teacher, but maybe one day that will be more adapted and like, okay. Yeah, I'm at an age where I'm young and old at the same time, like a bit above 30, so it's like, time will tell. I'm not stressed about that.
So let's get back to your teaching part of your life. I'm pretty sure that you are like students asking you a lot of questions. I hope so, at least.
It depends.
They have interest in your topic. So my question is, do they really ask questions just to get information about specific topic? Or sometimes students ask these questions just to ask questions, just to have good attitude?
Yeah. So on that, I believe it really depends on the context. I used to teach in like super elite university. Basically, I was useless because the students were as clever or maybe better than me. So I was just like presenting some material and they could do everything on their own. So we had a fun time, but they did not have like question on that. And now I'm teaching in an international context. So you get a cultural barrier, you get a language barrier, and that can introduce a lot of limitation on the freedom that students think they have. So some students are really interested. Sometimes I would prefer they ask more like, why? I think why is just the most basic and the most powerful questions. Like, because every time you why, you can go down the brick of what do you suppose, what do you test, what do you imply, and how do you build. And yeah, that was mostly be it. I have to say I was a bit confused and frustrated by the lack of questions and engagement. But again, I'm like, all I can do is leave the opportunity, but I cannot force students to ask questions, and that's in the end their life and their responsibility. So some students, they come to me, they ask me a lot of questions. Some they don't at all, but I'm not a babysitter. I'm a teacher. That means to be teacher, you need people that want to be taught. And some people are here and not sure they want that much to be taught. So that's their problem in the end and the life. So that's mostly it.
So, and speaking of questions, this is kind of philosophical or personal.
Yeah.
One, do you have any questions that are open for you now? You're looking for an answer, you're thinking of most of the time.
In my life?
Yep.
Oh, that's very general.
It's very general.
I need
Of course, it might be about your teaching topic. It might be about your something personal. As you mentioned, you like psychology, for example. Maybe you have some open questions in psychology, like why are people doing something?
Yeah. Well, I've had a like very general question. I mean, not personalizing question. That would be, why is the world so complex? To me, that's still a bit insane because I don't know, for example, if you play a video game or if you play like Lego bricks or whatever, you have a world with a set of rules, but those rules, they are not that complicated. I mean, you can assemble some bricks and then it's over. But in the world we are, it's insanely complex. You get chemistry, you get biology. When you think you understood something about physics, you get quantum physics, which is and I'm still very surprised on like, how come is that complex? And with like 100,000 of years of civilization, or maybe that's a bit too optimistic, we are still not being able to figure out. And it's even worse. There is some problem that we know that we cannot find or we cannot prove and that. And to me, that's really fascinating to see that the world is just that complex. And yeah. And it's easy to get lost with that question. It's like,
Yeah. Do you see some maybe any answers in analytics, in math, or is just getting more complicated?
yeah, that's one of the issues is that the average experience of a PhD student is that you come to a topic, you don't know nothing. You read a lot, you get to know a bit more, and after that you find maybe a few interesting stuff, you read, and when you get to your last year, you get like, no, actually there is much more question and I'm even more lost than I was before, and it's like, no. So I believe that math are mostly creating problem than solving, but there is a math theorem that I like that is called the Gödel incompletude theorem, and basically it says that even in math you have to admit you cannot prove everything, and that's kind of humiliating because we could think in math like, oh, I take this, I build that brick and then I can show that. But there's a guy that was able to say that it is impossible to prove everything. There is things that you have to admit, and depending on what you admit, you can or you can't prove everything. And that's like just a huge, this is a bit of a provocation on the human desire to control and to answer all the questions. Just like, yeah, we have the proof that we cannot prove everything, which is a bit humiliating, but that would say an answer I found in math.
So just to prove something in math, you have to have a belief in something.
Yeah, you have to make
It's right because I believe it's right.
You have to make axioms, and you have even to combine those axioms. And if you take some axioms, you can lead to very weird conclusion. If you remove some, then you cannot prove other stuffs. And it's, yeah, even in the purest form of science, we get that. In physics, it makes sense. Every time I try to measure something, I have a bit of uncertainty. So it's normal that we never get the complete truth. But in math, a lot of people were expecting to find like a simple, systematic truth, but actually, no. There's a truth, but they are limited, more than we think they were.
I'm glad that we've got more questions than we had before our conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's good when it flows like that.
Because yeah, basically it's the most important part in my researching this questioning to professors and students.
Yeah.
Just to find more questions, just to find this more why everything is working, how it's working now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm so glad that you came, that you've got an opportunity to talk to me today.
Thank you for the invitation.
It was a pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care.